Hey everybody, welcome back to Elemental Cartomancy. I'm here today to talk to you a wee bit about the Shining Tribe Tarot by Rachel Pollock. Now, Rachel is someone that I've admired for a long time, and is well admired within the tarot sphere. Rachel is probably most famous for her book, 78 Degrees of Wisdom, which is, in my opinion, a must read, for anyone who reads tarot cards. Um, Absolutely fantastic book. It has a new edition available to buy, and there's also it's available in audio form, so you can get it on Audible as an audiobook. And I have that as well, and it's really good. Other works that Rachel has done, there have been many, many, but in terms of tarot, um, there's the Heindel Tarot guidebooks. This is the major arcana, and this is the minor arcana ones. And one of my personal favourites is this book. It's a book called Soul Forest, and it is some kind of a short, I don't know what you would call them, not short stories really. Some of them are articles. First one's an interview, and as you can see, they're relatively each section is relatively short. Um, there's some that are readings that Rachel has done. Um, you can see here. So here's like an example spread, and the readings that she does are with the deck that we're going to look at, her deck, the Shining Tribe. And she takes us through the readings that she's done, the interpretations, etc. So yeah, this is definitely a brilliant book. It's one that I would recommend. But we're here today to talk about Rachel's deck. Now, this is a deck that Rachel illustrated herself, um, and wrote the book for, and the book is absolutely amazing. The box, it's one of these old, the edition that I have anyway, it's an old kind of a um, cardboard box, which, to be honest, it serves its purpose for me. I don't carry this about in my bag or anything like that. If I did, it would probably be getting banged up and ruined, but it sits on the shelf when I'm not using it, so it's fine. On the back, it says here, so drawing from the legacy of, let me hold that closer actually so as you can see it as I'm reading it. Drawing from the legacy of 50,000 years of human encounters with the divine, renowned tarot scholar Rachel Pollock has created and devised an expanded version of the Shining Woman tarot. Based upon tribal and prehistoric art from around the world, as well as the Kabbalah, Jungian psychology, and the wisdom and tradition of the tarot, the Shining Tribe Tarot is truly global. The full-size book included in this kit is a comprehensive guide to working with the deck. It includes fresh, insightful interpretations, original poetry for each card, guidance on caring for and using the cards, and a selection of spreads. Okay, so it's based on art that's been found all over the world, like cave paintings, etc., etc. Um, my understanding is that originally Rachel wanted to engage an artist to to create this for her, and she did some work to try and find some, but in the end up she created the deck herself. So this is all Rachel's artwork, and the book is all written by her. So that is the box. The Let's see. It's one of these boxes that comes with this insert. So this is kind of a divides the book and where the cards sit. I actually keep the cards in a bag in this box here. So it's one of these kind of old Llewellyn type boxes. The book is phenomenal. It's a meaty book. It's a really big book, and you're getting lots and lots of information in it. Let me just give you an example of the kind of info that we get. So the High Priestess. So we get a black and white image of each card. And then can you see we're getting 2 pages? And I don't think that that's, yeah, it's not the same amount every time. So in this one we get a wee bit more than 2 pages. For the Emperor, again, we're getting a wee bit more. So it's not set in stone the amount that we get for each one, but there's lots of information available. So let me read out the full entry for the High Priestess, just so as we can get an idea of what kind of information that we get. So this is what it says about original poetry. So she stays in one place, she swims in the water, she talks with the serpents, she knows all the secrets, she says nothing. The High Priestess robe and mask derive from Congo, Guinea and Africa. The headdress and braids of cowrie shells link, link her to African divination, which often uses cowries and castings. By its shape, the cowrie symbolizes the vulva and therefore the goddess, whose creative power is not simply generative. The vulva is a true symbol with many meanings. The snake below her comes from the rainbow snake of Aboriginal Australia. The two pillars, a motif found on many versions of this card, ultimately derive from the dark and light pillars of the Temple of Solomon in ancient Jerusalem. After the temple's destruction, these pillars became images for Kabbalah and, much later, Freemasonry. They signify the duality of the universe, light and dark, male and female, the positive and negative poles of electromagnetism. The High Priestess sits serenely in the middle, subtly forming the middle pillar on the Kabbalistic tree, the pillar of balance. Notice that the wings of her robe stretch past both pillars. Though she is still and serene, she is not really passive. Her intuitive understanding touches and unites all life. The High Priestess card reaches into many cultures, for she is not the priestess of any particular religion, but the inner way of the soul. Traditionally, the two pillars are black and white and signify the poles of existence. Here, the green and red represent, first of all, the plant and animal worlds, for she is the priestess of all existence. Green and red also symbolize growth and the blood mysteries of life and death. The different worlds intermingle through the cross-colored circles at the top of each pillar. The pillars are topped with blue. Blue is the color of the sea, the origin of all life, and also the color of the unconscious that, like the sea, is vast and formless, deep and unfathomable. The background of the card is blue, for she dwells within the ocean of mystery. Where the magician acts, she remains still. Where the magician draws down the light, she looks into the darkness. She does not seek answers or confrontations, but simply to touch the wholeness of existence. We think of the High Priestess as containing secrets, but this does not mean forbidden knowledge or even specific information. Rather, she understands truths that cannot be put into words. She is in some ways the most powerful of the trumps, though she does nothing. The tail of the snake becomes a pathway leading inwards to the mouth. In Western culture, the story of the Garden of Eden leads us to think of the snake as evil, but in many cultures, the bite of a snake or a taste of snake's blood brings revelation. People in India sometimes smoke dried cobra venom for its power to induce visions. The path the pathway spirals counterclockwise for detachment from the outer world with all its distractions. However, once we have found the inner peace of the High Priestess, we need to follow our spiral back out again, back to our daily lives. The fish, with all its colours, swims from left to right, bringing myths and dreams back to awareness. For only such images can the conscious mind glimpse the For only through such images can the conscious mind glimpse the truth of the unconscious. And then we have divinatory meanings. So inner truth, stillness, intuitive knowledge, peacefulness. A time to look inward rather than get involved with others. Sometimes secrets or mysteries. Reversed. Passion emerging from a time of detachment. Directing all your energy outward, especially as a way of not looking at yourself. So, as you can see, we're given a lot of information, both about the image on the card, why that's been chosen, lots of information that we can use to pull meaning from when we're using the cards to divine. So the book truly is amazing, and I would recommend that people get it not just to work with the cards, but to read this book. Let's have a look at the cards themselves. It is a standard tarot size, I believe, but let's just check that. Let's see. Okay, so it's a bit shorter, but about the same breadth as a normal tarot size. So that gives you an idea of the size of it. Cardstock is quite nice. It's good for riffle shuffling. I won't demonstrate that right now because I've got them in order to walk through them. But yeah, the cardstock is kind of it is laminate, but it's not too glossy. It's a nice cardstock. Okay, so what I'm going to do now is I'm just going to let you look through the cards. I won't speak, or if I do, I won't speak much. There is a bit that I want to say about the structure of the deck because the courts are different, but I just want you to enjoy the images that are on the cards. I wanted to touch a bit on the structure of the deck as well. So we obviously have our majors, and for the most part, they're recognizable, and they're named in line with what we would normally expect them to be. There are some differences, such as the Shining Woman for the World, we have Tradition instead of the Hierophant or the Pope, and Awakening instead of Judgment. And there's maybe some other changes as well that I'm forgetting. But for the most part, we recognize it as our classic major arcana. Where the deck really kind of diverges from the traditions of tarot is in the minors. And this is both in what the actual suit emblems are. The images are quite different than what we're used to. But also the courts, or in this deck, the vision cards. So first of all, the suits, rather than wands, we have trees. Instead of swords, we have birds. Instead of cups, we have rivers. And instead of pentacles or discs, we have stones. Okay, so that's how the minors work in this deck. It does make sense. I mean, when we think about what they're ultimately representing, it's the elements of fire, air, water, and earth. And each of these items harnesses the power of that element. So trees take in the sun's light and use it to nourish themselves. So they're harnessing the power of fire in nature. Birds fly in the air, so they harness the power of air. Rivers direct water, so they harness that power, and then we have stones that are the embodied power of earth. So I'm a fan of you know, the the use of trees, birds, rivers, and stones. The other thing that I wanted to touch on, and let me just move these out of the way, are the vision cards or the courts. Instead of a page, a knight, a queen, and a king, we have a place, a knower, a gift, and a speaker. So let me just read a bit from the book about that, just to kind of give you a basic understanding of why Rachel has changed them to that. So she says the Shining Tribe removes the court cards completely, replacing them with the vision cards, the place, the knower, the gift, and the speaker. These will become fully explained in their own section, but we can describe them briefly as a progression of learning and using the energy of each suit. The place allows us to enter the suit and feel its power in our lives. The knower depicts understanding the inner qualities of that suit. The gift tells us that we have reached the point where we can use the qualities in our lives. With the power of the gift, we then become a speaker, able to share the suit's power with others. Okay, so I want to talk a bit about how the cards shuffle. In my opinion, they shuffle incredibly well. They're really good for riffle shuffling, which you all know that I like to do quite frequently because I like my decks to be nice and mixed up. See how you get a really good riffle shuffle on it, and you get a really nice bridge on it as well. Overhand, well, because of the size, because they're that wee bit smaller than normal cards, they actually shuffle really well. They feel really comfortable to hold in the hand. So yeah, excellent to shuffle. I thought for a sample reading it'd be quite fitting to do the Zoe spread. It's a very simple 3 card spread. You can use it if you've got a particular situation that you're thinking of in your mind that you need some advice on, or you can use it as a kind of a daily reading. The 3 positions are situation. Okay, so a general card to describe the situation, whether that's something that might come up in your day, or whether it's a particular situation that you're intentionally reading for. The second card goes to its left and it's don't do this. This is a bad idea. Do not go about the situation in this way. And the third card is do this. Good idea. This is how to go about the situation. So I'm going to pull the three cards. I'm just going to do it as a kind of a general reading for the day. What I'll do is I'll read from the book a bit, just maybe not the full excerpt because as we've seen there's a lot of information for each card, but just a bit to give us, to give us an idea of what it might be talking about. Okay, so situation, don't do this, do this. Now for the situation we have the Ace of Rivers. And I should have said before, but just so as you know, as you can see, you're getting just as much information for the minors in the book as what we are for the majors. Okay. Okay, so for our Ace of Rivers, what situation might this be describing? Okay, so the book says this card is about nourishment. As an ace, it depicts whatever is most basic and life-giving. This will not be the same for everyone. For some, it may be lovers or friends. For some, physical activity or travel. For others, art. Still others, prayer, meditation, or study. What matters is that we go to the source, the wellspring of whatever gives us life. When we see this card, it tells us to find what nourishes us and drink deeply. So it talks of having experiences that take us back to basics and make us feel nourished, make us feel, joyful, happy, fulfilled, full of life. And we see people coming to drink from the water, both animal and people, and the fish within the water that lives within it. So for me, this is a card talking about, experiences. If this is for me, it's experiences that I'm going to have throughout my day that are going to make me feel fulfilled, feel happy, feel joyful, feel loved. Okay, so that's the situation. That's what the card is describing. Let's have a look at the bad idea card. Don't do this. Okay, so we have the Eight of Trees. So when we look at the book for this card, it says, in this card we see the destructive side of fire. The card also shows us that we do not have to remain in terrible situations, we can choose freedom. The ground is barren except for the trees, and fire has ravaged all but two of them. The house, the eighth tree, is on fire, with flames leaping out of the windows. At the same time, a golden-haired figure soars through the sky, leaping above the destruction and danger, and one tree and one bush remain green and whole. And the definitory meaning section, it says emotions or situations out of control, anger or pain, freedom, confidence in times of danger or collapse, the need to leave a situation that cannot be salvaged. Okay, so as a kind of a don't do this advice card, maybe what this is suggesting is that, some of these experiences that we're going to be having, they might, as much as they're basic and they're life-giving, they might not feel all that comfortable. We might have a bit of a fight or flight response. And we see the kind of the golden-haired female figure here running away, okay, getting themselves out of that situation. And it's telling us this is what's not to do. So maybe we need to get used to being a bit uncomfortable. Okay, maybe this is a situation where we need to kind of feel the heat of those flames, feel that passion, let ourselves feel a bit uncomfortable. We'll be better for it in the end. Okay, and then for the advice as to what to do, we have the Ace of Birds. In the book, it says the owl gets its reputation for wisdom partly from its ability to turn its head a full 180 degrees. Symbolically, this suggests it can look into the past and the future. The owl hunts by night, making it a bird of mystery and death. As remarkable as the head that can turn completely around is the owl's ability to fly in total silence. The wings are formed in such a way that owls can come up behind prey without even a whisper of noise. The owl is very powerful. A friend who knew owls once told me that an owl perched on a man's shoulder could crush the collarbone if it squeezed its claws. All of this makes the owl a deep and intense figure. So this feels like it's saying to be wise, to be watchful, and wait for your opportunity. Okay? So there's going to come a situation where you're going to feel like you just need to get out of there. You know, you need to, like I said, fight or flight. You need to run. You need to make a split second decision, a rash decision, and abandon ship. Whereas what it's saying is actually what you're best to do is to not indulge that, to wait, to watch. Okay, look at the past, look at the future. In other words, look at how the similar situations have played out in the past and casts forward to the future. Okay, so look at what's happening and think, right, okay, what's going to come out of this? Okay, use wisdom as your tool and act decisively at the right time. Okay, and not rashly without rational thought. This was an interesting reading. I'm looking forward to seeing how it plays out in my day. And yeah, I hope that you've enjoyed it. So thank you so much for watching. I hope that you've enjoyed this walkthrough. Please like or subscribe, like and subscribe if you've enjoyed this walkthrough and if you want to see others. Take care, everyone, and I'll see you all later. Bye bye.